room was too quiet for people who hated each other. A long wooden table cut the space in half like a line drawn in the sand. On one side sat Daniel, his jaw tight, fingers tapping once, then stopping, like he didn't trust his own hands. On the other side sat Marcus, still and guarded, his eyes fixed on the table, but never really resting. Between them was empty space, but it didn't feel empty. It felt like years. The wind pressed softly against the windows. Inside, the silence stretched thin, ready to break. They had spent so long avoiding this moment, so long pretending the other didn't exist. Now they were here, facing each other. A chair scraped lightly. Daniel shifted. Marcus didn't move. Then finally, Daniel spoke. "Do you want some tea?" The words felt strange the moment they left his mouth. Too small, too simple for something this heavy. Marcus looked up slowly. Of all the things he expected, it wasn't that. Not an argument, not blame, just tea. He hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Okay," and something tight in the room loosened, just a little. But it hadn't always been like this. There was a time when their voices filled every space they stepped into, not with laughter, but with fire. They once stood in the middle of a crowded street, faces inches apart, words flying too fast to take back. "You always twist everything," Daniel had shouted, his voice sharp, cracking under pressure. Marcus stepped closer, his eyes burning. "No, you just never listen." People had stopped to watch, not because they cared, but because the tension was impossible to ignore. Their words hit harder with every second. Neither of them stepped back. Neither of them wanted to lose. And in that moment, losing felt worse than anything else. But winning didn't end it. It only made it worse. The argument didn't stay in that street. It followed them into quiet rooms, into long nights, into the silence that came after. Every memory became a weapon. Every silence became proof. Days turned into months, months into years, and the distance between Daniel and Marcus grew into something cold and heavy. They stopped saying each other's names, stopped acknowledging each other's presence. Even when they passed close by, their eyes would shift away like strangers. But the anger stayed, quiet, waiting. One night, Daniel sat alone in a dim room. The light above him flickered softly. Shadows moved along the walls like thoughts he couldn't control. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. His mind replayed everything. The argument, the words he wished he hadn't said. The moment Marcus had looked at him, not just angry, but disappointed. That look stayed. It always stayed. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Why does this still matter?" he muttered. But the answer came immediately. Because it never ended. Across the city, Marcus sat by a window, staring out into the darkness. Cars passed, lights flickered, life moved on. but his thoughts stayed stuck in the past. He remembered Daniel's voice, sharp, defensive. He remembered his own. Worse, he clenched his jaw slightly. It shouldn't matter anymore, he whispered. But it did, more than he wanted to admit. The meeting wasn't their idea. Someone else had pushed for it. You can't keep doing this, they had said. At some point, you have to talk. Talk. It sounded simple. It was. Both of them almost said no. More than once. But something held them back. A question neither of them could ignore. What if this is the only chance? Now, sitting across from each other, they studied the changes time had written on their faces. Daniel noticed the tiredness in Marcus's eyes. Marcus noticed the tension Daniel still carried in his shoulders. They both looked different, but not completely. The tea sat between them now, untouched. Steam rising, fatting, disappearing into the quiet. Finally, Daniel reached for his cup. Marcus followed. They drank in silence. The sound was soft. Careful. Your hair is different, Daniel said suddenly. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Marcus blinked, then let out a quiet breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Yours too. The tension shifted again, slightly, like a locked door turning just enough to open. They didn't rush into the past, didn't dig into the pain right away. Instead, they stayed with small things, safe things. How have you been? Busy. With work? Yeah. Each word felt cautious, measured, but real. At one point, their eyes met. This time, neither of them looked away. For a brief second, everything else disappeared. No past, no anger, just Daniel and Marcus, seeing each other clearly. Then it came. The shift. Quiet, unexpected. I didn't think we'd end up here, Daniel said. Marcus nodded slowly. Me neither. A pause. Then Daniel took a breath. I was angry. The words felt heavy as they landed. Marcus's grip tightened slightly on his cup. I know, he said. Another silence. I was too. The room changed. Not lighter, but honest. They didn't fix everything that day. Didn't solve every problem. Didn't erase the years between them. But they stayed. They listened. And for the first time in a long time, they understood. As the meeting ended, neither of them rushed to leave. The tea had gone cold. The space between them no longer felt like a wall. Just space. Daniel stood first. Marcus followed. They hesitated. Then Daniel extended his hand. Simple, unforced. Marcus looked at it for a moment, then took it. Their grip was firm, steady, and something passed between them. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the beginning of it. Later that night, Daniel sat alone again. Same room, same quiet, but everything felt different. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. The memories were still there. The anger too, but it wasn't as sharp, not as heavy. He closed his eyes and heard it again. Do you want some tea? Such a small question, but it had opened something. Across the city, Marcus stood by his window again. The same lights, the same moving world. But this time, he wasn't stuck. He rested his hand against the glass, thinking about the meeting, about the silence that didn't hurt as much, about Daniel. He let out a slow breath. Maybe, he whispered, this isn't the end. The next time they met, the silence wasn't as heavy. The words came easier. The tension softened. Not gone, but changing. Conversation by conversation. Moment by moment. And somewhere in those small talks, something unexpected began to grow. Not quickly, not perfectly, but steadily, understanding. Years later, people might look at Daniel and Marcus and think it was always easy. They wouldn't see the distance, the anger, the years lost to silence. They wouldn't hear the shouting that once filled every space. But hidden inside their story was a quiet beginning, a simple question, do you want some tea? And the courage to answer, okay. In the end, it wasn't a big moment that changed everything. It wasn't a perfect apology. It wasn't a dramatic turning point. It was something quieter, something human. Two enemies sitting across from each other, choosing not to fight, but to stay, to talk, to listen, and slowly to become something they never expected. Not enemies, not anymore.